Tonight, we speak to volunteer firefighters from the region that went to Jasper to support the wildfire fight. Plus, a report was recently presented to the city outlining ways to improve how to deal with bear encounters. And in support of overdose awareness, a flag raising took place at City Hall today. Good evening, I'm Eddie Huband and welcome to CKPG News. Our top story, the call came in from the BC Wildfire Service late on July 24th, and 4 halls in northern BC packed up within hours to head to Jasper to aid in the fight against wildfires. One of the halls was the Beaverley Volunteer Fire Hall, and it was nothing like it was expected. Cheryl Jan caught up with some of the firefighters about their experiences fighting fires in Jasper, and brings us more in tonight's top story.
July 24th, members of the Beaverley Volunteer Fire Department joined peers from Valemount, McBride and Quesnel in heading to Jasper.
Alberta had made their request over to British Columbia to look for some structural firefighter resources, and specifically they were, at that time looking for Type 1 engines, which is the large structural engine, and they were looking for us to send closest resources, and there we got McBride, Valemount, the Beaverley Type 1 engine, and we had Quesnel as well go with us along with our task force leader.
The Beaverley Fire Hall and others have headed to other BC communities threatened by wildfires such as Barrier. But when they asked for the Type 1 truck, Melanie Perrin knew Jasper was different, and they had a very specific job when they got there.
You go to a structure fire, you're able to work with that structure fire and do your strategies and look to suppress and save as much of that property as you can. When you have a third of a town on fire, it certainly is using the resources to their best effect, and that was really around making sure that no new structures were taken by that fire event.
This was the first time Riley Braun attended anything similar to the Jasper fire.
There's a part of my brain that knew that it was coming, but then when you actually started driving in, you saw the flames leaping up through the trees beside the highway, and then you're driving down the highway and you can see Jasper burning on your left-hand side. That was completely shocking. Even though I knew it was coming, it still totally shocked me. Once you get there, you're completely enraptured in the moment. Your adrenaline's pumping and there's just flames everywhere around you.
30% of that community was lost to wildfire, with 358 of the town's 1,100 structures destroyed. And during that critical time, the local volunteer firefighters were tasked with a very specific job.
With the amount of structures that were all burning at the same time, it really wasn't an option to put every fire out. It really was what can we save and what can we make sure that there's no new ignitions. And so it was around exposure protection and trying to protect the structures that hadn't already been damaged by fire.
But Captain Perrin says the local fire area was never left short.
We only allow apparatus to go to the area that are in addition to the minimum apparatus to service the home fire protection areas.
They joined a host of other firefighters in Jasper, and for some, it was an eye-opening experience. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
While out enjoying the BC day-long weekend, people are strongly urged to be prepared and remain vigilant, as many parts of the province are experiencing increased temperatures and with that, wildfire risk. It's always a welcome sight at any campsite, a warm, cozy fire, but a campfire ban has been in place for much of the month of July, given the wildfire conditions throughout the province. The BC government is urging travelers to use caution and to take steps to reduce the risk of wildfire by staying up to date on current conditions. But campers in 2 BC fire zones are exempt this weekend.
As a result of cooler conditions and rain across the Prince George and the Northwest, those 2 fire centers have decided that the campfire ban for those regions will be rescinded, that is, taken off, starting Thursday at noon. If conditions change, campfire bans will be put back in place in these regions. Campfires remain banned in all other regions of the province.
A warning, our next story is disturbing to some viewers. 43 German Shepherds were seized by the BC SPCA from an irresponsible breeder and are currently being held in Prince George. Of the 43 dogs, 12 are puppies, and the BC SPCA says the dogs were found in horrible condition, with urine-soaked floors and feces everywhere. Some of the dogs were paralyzed with fear when rescuers came by, but the recovery is already going well now that the dogs are in a safe place. Among other conditions, many of the dogs have to recover from being underweight. They have poor dental health. They've also been suffering from neglect, have wounds, and it's unknown how the dogs got these wounds. Beyond physical care, treating the dogs for trauma is also a top priority.
What we're seeing right now is some fear. For some of that is cowering, hiding, being really unsure of people. It's going to be a long road. They're going to need to continue with behavior modification to gain that trust. We're going to need to look at further vetting for various dental diseases, injuries, and more. So it's going to be a long road. They're going to probably need months of support.
At the most recent meeting of the Advisory Committee on Bear Awareness, the Northern Bear Awareness Society recently presented a report to the committee to discuss a Bear Smart program for Prince George. Adam Burles brings us the story.
Here in Prince George, we are all too familiar with the presence of bears in our parks and in our backyards. Prince George's Advisory Committee on Bear Awareness held their second meeting at the end of July, and one item discussed was the potential of a Bear Smart program, and the Northern Bear Awareness Society was a part of that discussion.
So Bear Smart Communities is a provincial program that's been in place for a couple decades now. Our city of Prince George has been working towards becoming a Bear Smart community for a long time now. Several of the criteria of Bear Smart communities have been already met in Prince George. So Northern Bear Awareness Society provides one of them, and that's an education program to teach people how to manage their bear attractants.
Just a few weeks ago, Prince George was rated British Columbia's deadliest city for black bears to live, as 76 were put down by the BC Conservation Officer Service in 2023.
It's been very clear for a number of years that Prince George remains the deadliest community for black bears in BC. In fact, Prince George historically and even just recently is almost double the number of deaths for black bears that are happening around the rest of the province.
Despite Prince George having the deadliest city for black bears title, there have been successes over the years to help reduce human-bear interactions.
City staff had changed garbage cans in all of our community parks from just barrel cans with a swing top lid, for example, to bear-resistant garbage cans. So that's a wonderful success that's been done. We also implemented the 2 Bear Smart bylaws, one of which relates to not leaving your garbage out at night the day before garbage collection.
In reducing human-bear interactions, everyone has a role to play, whether it's keeping garbage inside before collection day or knowing the steps of how to properly avoid a bear when outside.
Bears are usually wary of humans. They'll run away if they know we're here. But when they have a food source that they really want, or even that they're defending, they will take a greater risk and they won't run away. And that results in humans and bears coming into closer contact with each other.
To report a bear, you can call the BC Conservation Office at 1-877-952-7277. Adam Burles, CKPG News.
There was a structure fire in the Heart yesterday. At around 4 p.m., a building on the 2400 block of Perrin Heights Road was reported on fire. Fire crews arrived to find heavy smoke and fire coming from the inside of the residence, but the fire was quickly extinguished. Damages, they're estimated at around $45,000. No one was injured as a result of the fire, and it's currently under investigation. The security was present to ensure that nothing was tampered with prior to that investigation. Prince George RCMP is asking the public to keep a watch out for 62-year-old Monica Giannina Marcoux. Monica was last seen around 7 p.m. on the 1400 block of Edmonton Street on July 31st. She's 5'4", 141 pounds, with long, graying brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a black sweater, dark pants, and black shoes, and was carrying a large black purse. If anyone sees her, call your local police department. A flag commemorating Overdose Awareness Month was raised at City Hall today in Prince George to spread awareness about the toxic drug crisis that continues to claim thousands of lives across BC. Tommy Osborne attended the event and brings us the story.
It's really heartbreaking. My heart hurts every day.
A flag was raised at City Hall to raise awareness for Overdose Awareness Month, where city officials and many community members who lost their loved ones due to overdose were in attendance.
There's over 15,000 dead in BC, and the wave of grief that has caused is heartbreaking.
These are our sons and our daughters. These are our family members. These are people who grew up and who live in Prince George.
Halfway through 2024, the BC Coroner Service says 1,158 British Columbians have lost their lives due to drug-related overdose. The Northern Interior continues to see the highest death rates per 100,000 people in the entire province, and Prince George, unfortunately, is on track to have even more deaths than last year.
91 deaths in all of last year. So right now we're at 68 deaths. That's only the first 6 months of the year. If we actually continue on the rate that we're at, 68 times 2 will far surpass that 91.
Prince George RCMP say it's continuing to do what it can to target this drug crisis, which includes its Special Enforcement Unit and its gang task force to stop drugs from getting into the city, as well as educational sessions in schools to warn of just how deadly drugs like fentanyl can be. If you are struggling with drug addiction or know someone who is, there are many organizations in Prince George that can help, like Positive Living North and its several programs.
We have a lot that's going on in our community. So we have a lot of frontline workers in various organizations at Positive Living North, at Central Interior, through the Community Action Team, and among other folks who are providing that naloxone training to their staff, to their friends, to whoever wants it.
While the city recognizes the entire month as Overdose Awareness Month, the International Day is on the 31st, and a vigil will be held outside City Hall on that day to remember all those our community has lost.
Our vigil will have just under 500 crosses, and we would love people to come and bring their pictures, memorabilia to set before their sons or daughters' cross or friends.
Miller encourages anybody to reach out to the Broken Hearts of Fentanyl if you have suffered through a loss of a loved one due to overdose. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
BC United has worked hard over the past 2 years to shed its old BC Liberal identity, but it appears the party is now looking to remind people of its original roots. Party leader Kevin Falcon calls it a way to reconnect with voters, while critics say it's an identity crisis.
The BC Liberals are back, sort of.
One of the things we're looking into is whether having our name on the ballot, BC United, formerly BC Liberals, is an option, and that's something that the party's looking into.
BC United now asking Elections BC to include, in brackets, formerly the BC Liberal Party beside United on the ballot come October. Party leader Kevin Falcon acknowledging the rebrand has not gone as planned, but won't be adding the BC Liberal name to campaign signs or election ads.
I don't think you want to, overanalyze this. There's going to be no change to our signage or anything like that. That's going to continue the way it is.
BC United continues to trail both the BC NDP and BC Conservatives in polls. Most recently, Research Co. showing the BC Conservatives at 37% and United at 9%. Former BC Liberal Minister Mary Polak says the party's rebrand lacked focus and the party is paying for it.
Unfortunately for them, I think it's quite late in the game for that, and the fact that they're seeking to add another explanation on the ballot for their name is, I think, another indication that they see that too.
Polak says BC United did not give centre-right voters the impression this was their team, and the brand, colors, and even the name also failed to support that.
All of those things are there to send a signal to someone. I'm your team. I'm the one that you identify with. And that is where BC United failed.
And while adding the name in brackets may get news attention, political scientists say it's not enough to sway enough voters.
Kevin Falcon has to throw a Hail Mary pass now. Put out a big idea that changes the narrative, that gets the other parties to respond to what he is saying rather than him reacting to events that are outside of his control.
And the play clock is running down, with BC United needing to put a lot of political points on the board before October.
A groundbreaking ceremony took place yesterday in the Nakazli Wuten to commemorate the beginning of a new subdivision. The Mountainview Subdivision will host 32 intergenerational homes and is in collaboration with BC Housing. While a housing survey in 2017 indicated that the community is 170 units short locally, officials are glad to begin work towards that goal, telling CKPG News that this subdivision construction is ahead of schedule. The subdivision is expected to be able to house residents in November of 2025.
When I first looked at the project and I was examining it, one thing that really hit me hard was that we're going to have 10 units for the younger generation, 10 units for our elders, and 12 units, townhouse type units for our families. But our elders tend to be lonely, and when you combine them with our children in the same complex, that solves a lot of problems, anywhere from loneliness all the way to our culture and our language. So the benefits go way beyond just the living place to live.
The Prince George Chamber of Commerce Breakfast Speaker Series is set to kick off next week, and it will continue right into the fall. Here's more.
The Chamber Breakfast Series is running through the summer and fall. First one is next week. BC Hydro is bringing in Chris O'Reilly. He's the president and CEO of BC Hydro, and BC Hydro is kind enough to sponsor that breakfast and make Mr. O'Reilly available to Chamber members in the community. That's on August 7th. The following week, August 16th, we'll have MP Todd Doherty. He'll be part of our political breakfast series. That's sponsored by TC Energy. That's on August 16th. September 24th, we will have the acting officer in charge for the Prince George RCMP to just give an update to chamber members in the community, just about law enforcement and so on. And then we'll have the mayor's breakfast on October 24th.
The BC government is providing nearly $6 million to BC Search and Rescue to help on-ground teams with training and equipment. A statement from the Ministry of Emergency Management says it's the busiest time of the year for 78 ground-based search and rescue teams as they help keep people safe in the backcountry while assisting with wildfire evacuations. The province says it's the third year of the annual funding agreement between the government and the Rescue Association, the only agreement of its kind in Canada. It says work is also underway to assess gaps and identify areas where new capabilities are required to keep people safe. The lowest gas price in Prince George is sitting at $1.69.9 per litre at Costco. The lowest price in the province right now is in Chilliwack at $1.58.9 per litre. Manitoba has the lowest fuel prices on average in the country at $1.51.7 per litre, while BC has an average price of $1.77.6 per litre.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Dominos. Join the Dominos Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit dominos.ca to join the club.
All right, so let's take a quick peek at the medal situation now. And Canada sits ninth. They've been in ninth for a while now. They have 8 medals. They picked up another gold today, as you just heard. Summer McIntosh, it is the summer of summer, all right, earning her second gold of the games, this time in the women's 200-meter butterfly. And as you just heard as well, she also has a silver. So Summer carrying the load right now for Canada. And top 5 in the medal count, China leads the way with 24 total medals, 11 golds. The U.S. has surged up to second with 9 golds, but they do have the most total medals at 37. France, Australia, and Japan round out the top 5.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed a beautiful Thursday here in the area. The sun was shining, the skies were blue, and maybe you got off work a little bit early to go out and enjoy that ahead of the BC day-long weekend ahead. Take a look at our satellite imagery here. You'll see not a whole lot over the vast part of BC. Some clouds up north of us, but nothing really to worry about here in our broadcast region. Here is your future cast coming through. This is Friday. It is a moving graphic. There's just no precipitation anywhere to be seen in British Columbia. There you see some on Saturday out towards Alberta. Some highs for tomorrow. 25 degrees for us here in the Prince George area. Look at that southern interior. 39 in Kamloops, 37 for Kelowna. Over on the coast, 24 for Victoria, 28 in Vancouver. Here in the broadcast region, Mackenzie 25, Fort St. James 26, Vanderhoof, Burns Lake both at 26 as well. As I said, Prince George will hit 25 here, 31 in McBride, and 28 for Quesnel. Some highs across the country for you for tomorrow. 28 in Vancouver, Regina 23, Winnipeg 29. Some rain in Toronto and 28 degrees, and more unsettled skies for Halifax as they'll be at 28 degrees, but might see the sun for the first time in a long time. So looking ahead to the weekend, here's this jet stream. As we move towards the weekend, you'll see that jet stream continue to drop, and by the time it gets to about the Canada-US border, that's when it will fully break down, and we'll see those temperatures start to loosen a little bit of their grip on British Columbia as we'll get closer to the mid-20s here in our region. So 3 degrees overnight tonight in Burns Lake, before 26 tomorrow, up to 28 and 27, and then 25 on Monday. That's when the system begins to break down. Overnight low is nice and chilly, allowing that heat to escape, which is, of course, a nice thing. There is heat warnings lower than us down in the interior. They're officially in heat warning territory. We are not there here in our region. Mackenzie, 6 degrees overnight tonight before getting to 25 for your long weekend Friday, that last day of work. How painfully slow the clock will run tomorrow. 27 on Saturday, 23 Sunday, 23 Monday, as again you see that system begin to break down. In McBride, 6 degrees tonight, 31 for the next two, 29 and 24. Chance of precipitation come BC Day Monday, 24 degrees, 65% chance of possibly some showers finally arriving back into the area. Quesnel, 8 degrees tonight before 28 degrees for your high tomorrow, 30 degrees on Saturday, 29 for Sunday. BC Day Monday, 26 for those of you in the Quesnel area. Again, overnight lows hanging around that 10-degree mark, which means no heat warnings will be necessary. And for us here in Prince George, 7 degrees and mainly clear this evening. 25 is the high we'll be reaching for tomorrow, and then we'll see that heat come through up to 28 for Saturday and Sunday. And then, as I've mentioned, it begins to break down a little bit on Monday down to 24, but then right back 26 and 25 degrees. Overnight lows down into the single digits means no heat warning. For a heat warning to be brought in, those overnight lows need to be up closer to the 17, 18 degree mark, so nowhere near danger of that for us here in Prince George as we all get set to enjoy the long weekend.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Dominos. Join the Dominos Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit dominos.ca to join the club.
It's been a disappointing season thus far for the Toronto Blue Jays, and heading into this week's trade deadline, there was plenty of speculation as to what the team would do. Would they be sellers and try to reset by rebuilding the farm system? Well, that's exactly what they did. The Jays have been busy making a plethora of moves that saw several players coming in and out. In terms of additions, some notable prospects they acquired included Jonathan Classe, Jake Bloss, Joey Loperfido, and Charles McAdoo, all of whom are highly touted and should be a big part of the Jays' future plans. Players going out, meanwhile. Several players in the starting lineup are gone, including fan favorite Kevin Kiermaier, slugger Justin Turner, and the longest tenured Blue Jay catcher Danny Jansen. Also being sent off is star pitcher Yusei Kikuchi, among others. Well, the Olympics aren't the only thing happening in sports. There's still plenty of baseball action going on. The sport of the summer, they say. And we bring you the best of last night's baseball action in tonight's CKP3.
Starting off with a shutout.
And Logan Webb tonight has been outstanding with the combination of the slider and the fastball, and more importantly, he got his changeup back. 6 strikeouts on the night so far.
Logan Webb pitched all 9 innings and held the Athletics scoreless, as he had 6 strikeouts on the day to punctuate a fantastic pitching showcase. Next, a game winner.
To tie things. Dubon drives one deep to left field. He settled that pitch and he gives the Astros the lead.
Dubon's huge home run in the 7th inning would end up bringing in 2 runs, which would prove to be the game winner as no more runs were scored the rest of the game. That homer got the Astros out of a 3-game losing streak, and it came at the perfect time for the team as the Mariners are hot on their trail in the standings. Finally, denied.
Door 2 for 9 in this series. To left, deep. Larnach jumps up and Larnach makes the play.
Larnach steals a home run from the Mets as he dives into the wall to make this stellar grab, which would set the tone early for the Twins as Minnesota would go on to enjoy a big 8-3 win in tonight's CKP3.
Thanks for joining us tonight, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.